Okay, check out this massive piled corn. There's a semi truck for scale. Look at all that corn. The end of one side of the trail starts going through private property after this. This year, this property suffered some pretty significant flash flooding in a couple of different events, and it has started washing out this old railroad bed. I'll show you some of the damage. So all the water came flying down off this bluff. It's about a, 150, 200 foot bluff, and it filled all of this lowland area with enough water that it came over here and rushed over the railroad bed, which is a good 5 feet above the bottom of this ditch here, and then enough that it blew in through here, and you can see all the gravel that washed out all the way back through there. Nice to see that someone has shot up this sign. Typical. Anyway, this is the trail that we're on, the Hoover Nature Trail, and it is about 2 miles or so. And then Chapin Bluffs is up here, and where we came from. Yeah, about another mile or so that way. So this ditch right here used to be about 5 feet deep, and all of this sediment, sand, and rock came flying down out of this gully, and it just filled this whole area. That's a lot of material. Some bigger rocks. But yeah, pretty crazy flood events. Water was moving real fast. Same goes for this ditch. It used to be quite a drop off, and now it's all filled in, and I mean, it just came screaming out of this gully. So I was mowing along, and caught my eye over here is Tree of Heaven. It is a really horrible invasive tree. It kind of looks like sumac, also kind of looks like walnut, black walnut, but no good way to tell is the leaves. You kind of crunch them up and sniff. It smells like bad peanut butter almost. It's weird. Nasty tree. Gonna have to spray this sucker. Another good way to tell that it's not a walnut or a sumac is this time of year in fall, the walnut trees are almost completely bare. Already dropped their leaves. And sumac are turning red or already red and dropping their leaves. And Tree of Heaven here is just barely starting to get fall color. And that's kind of typical with a bunch of other invasives too, like honeysuckle and autumn olive. They tend to stay foliated longer than our native trees do. So up here, this is a walnut. I just got hit by something. Anyway, walnut, pretty much all of its leaves are gone already. Here's another smaller walnut. It's all reached its fall color. And then your Tree of Heaven hasn't really even changed yet. Here's what the sumac's looking like right now, so you can tell the difference between it and Tree of Heaven quite easily. So I said this earlier that this was an old railroad bed here, and some of the remnants from the railroad are still here, like this sign, signal post, I guess. It's pretty cool looking. So there's the campground. It's part of the fairgrounds, and it flooded, and it was also during the county fair. So all the stalls and stuff where the animals were flooded, and everybody had to evacuate. It was pretty crazy. There's probably 2.5 feet of water in the campground there, and people were set up camping. And I'm sure a lot of their stuff got wet and potentially damaged their camper as well, because it was pretty bad. Alright, Hoover Nature Trail is done. We're going to head back up to Chapin Bluffs. But man, lost a glove. I don't know where it went. Okay, we're going to head up the bluff trail that the mowers can make it up to Chapin Bluffs. And this trail when it's wet out is pretty much impassable. It goes through the wetland area down at the base down here, but it also, on the trail edge, it is clay and it is like gumbo. It'll just slide all over the place. That's not a place you want to be when you're sliding. It's very dangerous. That's the Hoover Nature Trail. Now we're back up Chapin Bluffs trails, and we're going to head to the main parking area. And there's a pawpaw grove here. Super windy today, but anyway, this is where they've cleared out some of this old crap and they've grafted new pawpaws. So eventually they'll do that for the rest of this. Get all these leaves out of here. There's a wedding tomorrow. I think it's just the ceremony part, but guessing they'll do it on the overlook here. Here's the overlook, where I think they're going to have the wedding ceremony. At least this is where I would have it. That's the Iowa River right there. Mississippi would be over the top of those bluffs back there. Down the other side, obviously. Okay, I'll let you guys critique my work now. How about that? Let me know in the comments how I did. Anyway, that's all I got here for today. This is a chinkapin oak, which is what this property is named after. They're pretty cool. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Thumbs up, notifications on. Appreciate it. Enjoy your day.